So I had some questions I'm going to address. This is the Moza Air Cross 2. And some people, as well as with the other Moza Air Cross and the Moza Air, they have problems with getting the cage to fit particularly well on the actual stabilizer. Big key about that is with this cage, and this cage is really, it's a small rig cage, it's a full cage that goes around the entire thing. And with this, there are so many different mounting holes, it's a built-in cheese plate at the bottom here, and that goes all the way across. That allows me to place this in many different positions. So when you look at what you have here on the actual stabilizer, and it could be whichever stabilizer you've got only so much play that you can do with this screw here. That will slide it up and out only so far. And as you can see, it on this particular model, which is kind of silly, it only goes up to where this knob is on this here. Now if they made it a latch like this, where you could lift it up, rotate it, and then turn it and lock it, that would be much better, because then you could slide this over as far as you need for whatever camera you happen to have on there. And as it is now, what we do is we simply take the plate itself and we move that along the cheese plate on the full rig. It almost necessitates purchasing a cheese plate or a separate mounting adapter. And in this particular case, this has saved me in a lot of cases, simply because I have mounting places for all of my, if I want to run 2 different lav mics, which I have done in the past, I set those up on here. I can run I can mount all of my other accessories on here. I put a little Velcro patch on here because I have a 1 terabyte SSD drive that I put on here. I just Velcro it right to it. Works really well. And my power source that I have here for my whenever I need to extend my battery power. This plate, it's a simple, cheap plate. But let me tell you, that thing has come in handy so often, and we just simply mount it on here. The nice thing about this particular setup is I can rotate this wherever I need to. So if I want to put my flash drive on here as well, I have the Velcro that will work for that, and have this on here, as well as setting this into play, putting this, if I need 2-3 hours of battery time for recording, I just put that in and plug this in, and it works really well. Some of you know from the other videos on here, but I also have a Instagram account called Flap Fu, like Kung Fu, except flap, like wings flapping. And I've been putting up some of the slow motion footage that I catch with this camera for birds and for my nature photography. When I'm sitting out there, it's 3-4 hours sometimes. These battery pack solutions are essential, and it's easy, it's lightweight, except for the pack itself. They are sometimes hefty, but they give you what you need. And I've seen some of the other Bauer packs and things like that. They're massive, so this is a really easy compromise. And again, you can buy the smaller packs for that. But the small rig cage itself just allows for so many different mounting options. I could mount that wherever I wanted to, because I do have, again, all of these screw holes, basically, both on the outside here as well. That allows me here full access to the cage. They built it and designed it really well. That gets at my cards, and of course it opens up here so that we also have access to the standard battery that comes in, and this door is removable. The big thing about this, again, is that it allows you to place this wherever you need to to make sure that it fits on whatever stabilizer you happen to have. So I'm going to balance this just a little bit so you can see. Comes through here and slides on. You'll see where this butts up against that. It's like a perfect fit. It's kind of hard to see, but it's the edge of where this is meeting this little outcropping. It's a perfect fit. It's really interesting that works that way, but the small rig cage goes right up against that, and it just sets in perfectly. It's really, it couldn't have been designed that way, because this, unless Moza designed it later to work like that, but it's really something that just, you snap it on there and you're done. So the other thing, I happen to have a little, I lost, it was either a washer or something. So we have several different crew people that sometimes open this up, and sometimes this comes out too far. I have no idea where the washer went, so what I did was I just cut out a piece of silicone, a couple of pieces of silicone, and that gives me, it for one deadens any sound, and for the other it allows for a smooth grip on there for tightening and so forth. But that's my solution, and because I had to come up with that on the spot, and that's why you have a little bag filled with just about everything, and you can make anything work in that regard. So now back to setting this up for balance. So one of the main things, it may seem silly, and it may seem something that you're not thinking about, but you have to go as in you are already filming. What state is the camera going to be in? So that means the lens cap is off. That means that you have all of your audio sources, including your headphones, already set up and ready to go. That has to be on here for when you start to balance. So if I have, sometimes I'll have two different mics on here as well. I'll have sometimes the Rode video mic just put up on there, or sometimes, like I said, two lav mics and set up. But that little bit of extra weight will throw off your stabilizer. So you have to have that all in consideration. I have an SLR adjustable ND filter on here. So, and this is my 25mm Lumix lens. So you have to make sure everything is set. So right now it's tilting up. We've got it a bit too high on that back end. So first things first is you release this and make sure that it's set down as far as it can on the main plate, so that this is dropped down vertically. Okay, first just let that happen, get that to that state. Second then is you figure out, okay, even at that state, where is it? We have, it's still going to be tilting back that way, so we release this. One thing to help with getting this to fit on here and without having to fight and grind this forward and grind it back is to simply lift up on this side as you start pressing forward, because you'll see here at the top, as I lift up, there is a gap that closes that allows for much more easy transition back and forth. If you don't have that, you're fighting with it and it's kind of, you know, grinding, and it's harder to get going properly. So lift up on that, then make your move. So in this case, it's a little too far forward now. I'm going to lift up on it, and then I'm just going to slide back just a little, then release a little bit more. Get a feel for that. A little bit more. Too far. Go back and forth. There we go. And then when you tighten it, lift up on it and just tighten. And now you're set. Then you have to go to the vertical. How is the vertical working? So vertical is basically that first one here. This is already loose, so I can just do the same thing. I lift up on the cage a little bit this way, and then I slide it till I get it to where this is somewhat stabilized. There we go. And then I tighten it underneath here. That way, when I flip it back over, it doesn't lose that. Now, this is actually great right there. Now, I also have a small rig. This is for putting on extra weights, and they come in your 50 and 100 gram extra weights on there. And they can, again, be mounted anywhere. And the nice thing about this plate here as well, for the Moza Air Cross 2, is they allowed a space so that you can mount your weights here, including on the front. And sometimes that's really important because you'll have a larger or a shotgun mic on top of this, and that will really overbalance it, and it's really hard to get it stabilized, except for putting these extra weights on here to counterbalance that. So these are really a great thing to do, fairly inexpensive. This by itself has a good amount of weight on it. I mean, it's solid metal. So as you're stabilizing, you can see it's already set really nicely. So I don't have to do anything right there. It's set. So I've already slid it back and forth as much as I need. This gives me a little room here. So if I need to put something else on there, if I overbalance it with a mic on this side, then I'll just add a weight over here, and that will bring it back to steady. The other thing here now is just to figure out where this is sitting on the base this way. So you can kind of see that if you shove it forward or you shove it back too far, sometimes what happens is, depending on the surface that you're on, it'll tilt one way or the other kind of heavily. So you want to find out where the best place is for this. Now I've done this enough, I know where it is, but for your example here, to help out, I'm going to just leave it in a general position, tilt it one way or the other. So that gave me this wobble. So what I have to do is I'm going to pull it back. We'll see where it is if I pull it back. We'll see how much. Too heavy, so it goes even more so. So that means I know where I was originally, and I push it forward instead of back. Get this stabilized fairly well. Go back this way. Very little movement comparatively. Let me do a little push forward. Okay, too much. So I start wiggling it back now. There we go. There we go. So almost no movement. Tighten it up, and we're done with that part. So the other is to turn it on. On the Moza Air Cross 2, you press and hold here, and then the LED OLED will pop up. Now, auto tune is fairly easy. We click on this, we hold, go 1, 2, down to the advanced setting, turn it, and the very first one is auto tune. And we let it do its dance. Now again, it's set up exactly as how I'm going to be filming later today. And so now it's going to make sure. You really want to make sure all of your levers were tightened, and we're good to go. So now it's set the power levels for each one of these properly. I'm going to just bring that back to the beginning. And that's it. So we're set. We're good to go, as I said. And it's a nice device. It is not that much lighter comparatively to the Moza Air 2. However, it is a bit more of a compact form. I can put the battery pack, mount that right onto there too, and just run the cable up there. That way I don't have to worry about adjusting the stabilizer. There are a lot of benefits for having that. This does charge when it's empty, I mean when it's run down, and during filming, and we film a lot of hours, it does get down to that stage because we're just going and all of a sudden, boom, it shuts off. It will recharge in 1.5 hours to full charge, and then you've got another 10 hours of use. I don't know what magic they're using. They state that they've got about a 12-hour. I run the Blackmagic usually with a heavier lens quite a bit, so my 10 hours is from a heavier lens and a heavier camera mounted on this. So if you're using a lighter rig, obviously you're going to get a lot more time on that. The nice thing about this as well is even when run down, it's got a standard USB-C port that you can plug one of your regular battery packs into and then plug right into there, and it will run off of that. So you can just stick that in your pocket and continue to run the stabilizer. That's really a nice feature. That is something that if you do run out, which we've had to do, I just get out my Anchor pack and plug it in and good to go. But that's it. I just wanted to show that because some people had a problem with that they couldn't fit their camera onto there because of the well, for one, some people didn't have a cage on it. Some only had half a cage. And they had problems with it just lining up properly. Like I said, the bottom plate, whenever you get any type of cage, make sure that the bottom of it has a good cheese plate that allows you a lot of variation, forward, backward, side to side, for placing, for your mounting bracket on there, so that it will set properly when you need, where you need, and you won't have any problems. But that's it. If you have any questions, let me know. Put them in the comments below, and thumbs up, and please subscribe. We're trying to grow the channel, so anything you can do to help in that regard is just pressing that subscribe button. It really does help. Thank you.